I am so excited today to bring you the options for the last buddy reads of 2020. Can't believe we're doing this already. And first, I have a little bit of story time for you. But first, I have to do one other thing. I have a new channel member that I want to shout out. Sorry that it's taken a little bit to get this into a video, but I actually pre-filmed quite a few. So I will admit I was a little too lazy to go back in and add it to it, but I wanted to say a shout out to Carrie Dawn. Thank you so much for supporting this channel at a faded friend level. I've already been in contact with her and we have her connected with all of your special perks and everything. And speaking of perks, that is something that's changing going into the new year. So I am part of a couple of book clubs. I also have my Discord group and my channel members, so I have a lot of different things going on. And so going into the new year, I'm thinking of changing up a way that we do buddy reads, whether my buddy read will coincide now with the Rake Society or with the Taboo Book Club or however that ends up working. But what I wanted to do for the end of the year is something really fun. So my plan is, and a couple of you have heard of this because I mentioned it on a few things, is that I read a lot of books. Y'all know this. It's probably why most of you follow me. I have lots of recs because I read large quantities of books. And one of the things that I ran into this year is, it's mid-November. I was trying to start to put together my, my DNF list, my least favorite books. And when I started to look at my favorite books, I ran into a problem. And the problem is the way that I rate, I've shared this many times in the past, I rate 90% on enjoyment of a book. I really only notice other issues within a book if I'm not feeling like it's going to be a 5-star. And so in general, I rate, if a romance is happy, it makes me feel good, maybe makes me feel a little sad, emotions or whatever, it's really sexy and fun, it's getting a 5-star. I don't see the point in docking stars when I've had a great time, because to me, that's what a romance is there to do. There's extra things that a romance can do. There is some heavy lifting that can be done in a romance book, but in general, it's going to get 5 stars for me if it does those things. That being said, currently, I have 216 5-star books in my spreadsheet. That would be a lot for me to rank them, because I wanted to rank my favorite books of the year and make a video where I'm out of 650 books or whatever, this is, my favorites. So I had to think of a way to do this. So first off, one of the things that I'm going to be implementing in the new year anyway is a 6th star. You're going to hear me talk a lot about this in the coming time because I'm going to mention it a lot, but a few of my friends on Booktube actually already do a 6th star, most specifically Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany. I saw her add this in a while ago, and I remember at the time thinking, wow, what a nice problem to have so many 5-star books that you don't know, which ones are your favorite, but I get it now. Part of it is like I said, I just read so much, and a third of the books I read, I've given a 5-star, and I wouldn't go back and lower those necessarily. Maybe some of them I would, but I just don't feel the need to downgrade a book so that I can have some books be better. What I want to do is I want to have the freedom to give books 5-star that I want and rate them that way on Goodreads and tell my friends and tell you guys that they're 5-star. But then there is this upper tier. There's this tier of 6-star where it's yes, these are the ones that I absolutely recommend. I love them so much. They are the books that I talk about the most and that I could still remember everything. So that's what I did. Is first I made a spreadsheet of all of the 5 stars, and then I went through that and I asked myself 2 questions. I was 1, do I remember what happened in this book? And 2, do I think about this book often? And so out of that 216, I came up with a list of about 23 of them that I deemed that I would give 6 stars to that book. So that's looking a little better. 20 is possible, right? That's not an overabundance of amount. And so then what I want to do is, because I want to rank those books, I'm probably going to narrow it down to 20, and then I want to do a video where I rank my top 20 books from, again, I all love them, but from my favorite and then the 20 down. And so to do that, because I've read so many books, we're getting to the point with this, I promise. I want to reread in the month of December. So that's not saying there won't be any new books that I get to, but my main goal with December and what I'm planning to use the Romance Takeover Readathon for is to reread any of those 20 books that I feel like I need to, because a couple of them I have just read and like I know like in my head where they fit, but I wanted to reread the books starting all the way back in January, you know, because I could remember what they were about and I could remember I liked them, but where do they stack up compared with other books? So out of that list, I was able to put together a historical list and a contemporary list. So I still have 2 buddy read options for you guys. So I'm going to have it's basically a favorites of, and now these aren't only my favorites, but the other historical favorites on my list are either like I know where they fit, or they're just, you know, not quite the same as these. So first I'll show you these. As always, there will be a Google Docs in the description where you can go and vote on this. This will be if you want to do one or both or neither of them, but you can still vote on it. And then there's a link to my Discord in there where you will find the buddy reads where we will chat about them. So you're going to get to reread my favorite books with me in December, and I'm so excited about it. 2020, we say it again and again, I don't want to beat this dead, rotting zombie horse, but like it sucked. It sucked. And so it's wonderful to me that I get to reread my favorite books and then read them with you, because you've heard me rave about these ones, and how fun will it be to get to read it with me? I mean, I think it's going to be pretty fun. So let's start with the historicals. This was really hard because I have a lot of 5-star historicals, but I had to like narrow it down to the ones that I really want. And then I only put 2 Lisa Kleypas on this list, even though my top romance list had like a lot of Lisa Kleypas on it. But the 2 Lisa Kleypas options we have for you, if you would like to reread one of these with me, is again The Magic. This book is amazing. This is a second chance romance. This is Westcliffe's sister. It's technically a prequel to the Wallflower series, even though a lot of us have read it after we've read the Wallflower series. If you can, I suggest you read this one first, because it really gives you a good mindset of what Westcliff is thinking going in to those books and things like that. But this is about Aline and McKenna, and they were in love. He's the stable boy at her family's estate, and they were falling in love, and so her father takes steps to separate them. There's also a secondhand love story in this book, which is, to me, what pushed this to a 5-star. I don't always like when a story is trying to tell 2 love stories, and my heart of hearts, I do wish that this was put into 2 books. Like, I really, really wish that each of these sisters got a full story. But the reason that this book means so much to me is that the secondhand love story is about an alcoholic, and he's a young alcoholic, and a woman who's strong enough to say, like, I love you, but, like, I'm not going to watch you kill yourself. So we can have a fling, we can have fun, but I can't be with you. And I'm also not asking you to give up it. Like, I don't want you to give it up for me, because then if you're ever unhappy with your life, you're going to blame me. And the strength that sister has is amazing. But I absolutely love this book. Obviously, I'm going to say that about each one of these because they're my favorite books. But if you would like this to be the choice, go ahead and vote. Then the other Lisa Kleypas in band, this was hard, and it might be controversial, but the other favorite of mine is Mine Till Midnight. I don't think that's a surprise to you, my viewers, but for me to say that these 2 are my favorite Lisa Kleypas is, you know. This has my favorite Kleypas hero. That's right, I did read Dreaming of You this year, and to me, Cam is better than Derek. And I know people are going to hate at me, but if you haven't read this, or you're thinking Derek's better, maybe we should reread this together. Maybe you'll read it for the first time. This is the first book in the Hathaway series, which this series takes place after the Wallflower series, but it has characters that you have met before. This one is about Amelia Hathaway, and she is the oldest sibling of these 5 siblings who, they are a genteel family, but they've fallen into disrepute, and the brother, who is the heir, he has kind of lost his place, lost his self, and at the beginning of this novel, she's trying to track him down and ship him into shape, and we meet Cam Rohan, who works at a gaming hell that her brother is frequenting, and he is a Afromani, and I just love him. I love the culture that we see in here. I love the way that he doesn't fit in either world, and I just love him. I love him. I love their love together. It's a bit of like a hate to love on her side. He is immediately entranced with her and just so intense about her in this way where he just wants to care for her. It's not that he wants to baby her or anything like that, but he just wants to care for her. And I love that. The other option is The Earl Takes All by Lorraine Heath. Yeah, this book, I cannot forget the plot of this book. It is fabulous. And it's about, twins, and one of the twin brothers dies in Africa, and the twin that's dying asks his brother to pretend to be him because the twin that dies has a wife back home who's pregnant, and they've been having fertility issues. They've been having problems carrying a child to term, and he doesn't want her to lose her baby. So the twin honors his twin's request, and it's hard because he already had feelings for his brother's wife, and now he's supposed to pretend to be his brother, but he knows that eventually he's going to have to tell the truth and that she will never forgive him. This book is so good. Lorraine Heath, I've never, as of yet, again, she has a lot of books. The woman has, let's see the list. The woman has a lot of books, and I've read 6 of them, but I have read no 2 plots the same. This is the middle book in the Hellions of Havisham, and they all have amazing plots. So this book is so good. It's so beautiful too. So let me know if you want to read that. And then the third one, I mostly picked this one because it's the only one in the series that I haven't listened to the audio for. It's also my favorite one in the series. It's also, I think a lot of you will be pleased that this is an option, because if you haven't read it, you'll want to read it. And if you have read it, you'll want to read it again. And that's The Madness of Lordy and Mackenzie, which has become a booktube darling, a romance booktube historical darling. It's fantastic. This is about an autistic lord, and he meets a woman, a widow, and he's obsessed with her in a really sweet way. And she is a woman who she's planning to marry someone. She's planning to remarry, and he's not a great guy. And so Ian goes to meet her to decide if he's going to help her or not. And he immediately is like gobsmacked by her and wants to do whatever he can to have her, and it's so sweet. There's also a mystery plot going on. There's also a lot of people like warning her away from this man, and I'm really excited, but I want to read the audio this time because all the other books I listened to on audio, and so I want to do that. So those are going to be, I think I only picked the 4 options. Let me double check. I got my map behind me. Yes, those are the 4 options for the historical buddy read. Go ahead and vote on that. Then we're looking at contemporary, and a lot of these are darker ones because the darker ones are what pull to me. So let's go ahead and go over the options for the contemporary buddy read. So the 5 options for which of my favorite contemporaries you would like to read with me are as follows. So one of the first contemporaries I read this year, and it's so funny to look back as I was looking through this list. Number one, that some of these books, I only read them this year because like pre-COVID, post-COVID, like I'm just so different, and a few of these are all from that like pre-COVID part. And so the first option is going to be For Real by Alexis Hall, which has been in a lot of my videos recently because there's just so many things that it does, and I'm really excited to reread this book because I've went back to it a few times, but I haven't reread it in its entirety this year. And so this is actually a male-male BDSM relationship with the older male being the submissive, and he's been a long-term submissive. He was in a long-term relationship with his dominant, thought he would be with him forever, and then that dominant broke up with him, and for the last couple years he's just kind of been in limbo. He is a doctor, he's very successful, and he's a submissive. And one night at his favorite club, he sees this young dominant who comes in, who barely looks old enough to have made it in the door, and he wants to be a dom, but because he's young and hasn't been able to practice, literally like practice his skills yet, he hasn't been able to do it. He hasn't found someone willing to submit to him. And so Lordy, our practiced submissive is willing to give him a shot, and very quickly is overwhelmed by the strong feelings he has for Toby, this 19-year-old kid. So this is also an age gap, because Lordy is like 38 and Toby's 19, and he's just like, what the fuck am I doing with this kid? But he makes me feel again, and I haven't felt anything in so long. And I just love this book. I mean, it was another one of those that was like early on in my BDSM reading, and it's so sweet. There's nothing like dark and like there's heavy themes. There is a trigger warning for grief in this and self-harm. But it is powerful and sweet. And if you read this Alexis Hall and you've read boyfriend materials, you will understand why I had significant issues with boyfriend material, because I've read this, and this book just blows my mind. So the next option I have is Breaking Perfect by Lydia Michaels. So this is one I haven't talked about too much, because this is a heavy topic. This one, again, a lot of these books I picked up trigger warnings, because they're the ones that make me feel. That's why they have a 6 star for me, is because they make me feel. But this one is about Dr. and Mrs. Mason, and this is an age gap, but the book is already taking place. They are established in their relationship. Her name is Liberty, and she has a traumatic past, and by marrying Mason, she actually it upgraded her life a lot, and he loves her and understands her, but they have kind of a vanilla relationship, because he's never wanted to push her or press her or stretch her, because he knows about her mental issues. She has obsessive compulsive disorder, and there is big triggers for that. So I just want to warn you, because she has it to the point where she will accidentally self-harm. Like, she's not choosing to hurt herself, but she'll get into her patterns and then not be able to get out, and Mason will have to help break her from it. It's amazing. And so they're in a happy marriage, but neither of them knows that they're missing something, because the way that they do things is in a pattern to keep her from spiraling. So they have a routine, they have a way that they do things, and Liberty needs it to be that way all the time. But they're not unhappy. This is a couple that you can tell that there could have been another story about her finding him and finding that perfection with him. But this book is about Breaking Perfect. And it's about Breaking Perfect because pretty early on in the book, an ex-lover of Mason, who's actually a man, I think his name is Sean. It doesn't say it. Yeah. So Mason was actually in a long-term relationship with Sean when they were in their 20s. And Sean was the one who broke it off. Mason wanted to marry Sean and be with him, and Sean couldn't do it. And there's reasons why Sean has shown up, and it immediately starts messing with Liberty, because there's someone in her house. She likes him. He seems nice. She's not really threatened that her husband is bisexual. That's not even her issue at all. But she doesn't know what to make of Sean or how he feels about her, and she's very worried about how she's projecting herself. But anyway, it's amazing. There is a lot of emotion in this book. Obviously, I've said some trigger warnings for OCD and self-harm. But it's fascinating, and this story is it's a menage. I'll just tell you, because I believe that I've put it in a rec video and said that before, but this is about how all 3 of them make it work, and it's bananas. I'm so excited to reread this one. As you can tell, I have lots of notes in this one, and I'm really excited. Then the next one that is an option is Poison by Jade West. This is another intense one. This has trigger warnings for chronic illness. We have a woman who has... Wow, I just forgot the name of it. Let's see if my brain can remember. I can't, but I will put up... She has this, and so she needs to be on medication, and if she gets too upset or things happen, she could have an episode, and it's dangerous. And this is in Owned Voices, because Jade West was recently diagnosed with this, and so you can feel that. Jade West always writes really raw, deep stories, but the stories that she writes that is in Owned Voices are amazing. Hello Stranger was a lot like that too, because that was based on her husband's experience and her interaction with someone. But this one is about a couple that they used to have a consensual really rough screwing that they would do. And then they had a problem in their relationship and they broke up. And so to please everyone else around her, she has tried to make really good decisions now. Like, she doesn't live that kind of lifestyle anymore. She's actually engaged to someone else, but it's miserable. She's not pleased in her relationship. Lots of bad things are said about her. Her current partner knows about the kind of sex that she likes, and he uses it against her. There's trigger warnings for assault and rape in this book. It's Jade West. You're getting into something. So I completely understand if this one doesn't get picked, but I will be rereading it this month, just like all of these. And if you'd like to do that, please do. Then I am going to reread Her Perfect by Steffi Walls. This is a student teacher, but I wouldn't really call it an age gap because it's only 4 years, and it is her brother's best friend comes back to the town they live in and becomes a teacher there. This one does have trigger warnings for an eating disorder, so know that. And she is the only girl in a family of boys, and her family dotes on the boys, and they just overlook her and mistreat her, and it is her family that has led her to search for perfection and land on an eating disorder to try to control that. And so when this guy comes back to town, number one, he now thinks that she's beautiful because she is almost 18. I think with them there's only a kiss before she's 18. I can't remember. I need to reread this. But yeah, it's just beautiful. I think Eli is the guy's name, and I loved him. This was a hard book to read, but I've never read a student-teacher romance where I have so been rooting for the couple. Like, a lot of times when I read a student-teacher, I'm like, oh, this is sexy, I like it, but like, these two couldn't be together because it's wrong. Reading this book, I wanted them to be together so badly, and I was so proud of Eli for the way he handles the relationship with her, because it never felt pervy. It never felt like he was overstepping. And in fact, he was an advocate and someone who had this girl's back when nobody else was. And this book also, it shows the issues that she has, but she has a partner who encourages her to get therapy, who encourages her to get help, and he's not taking advantage of it in the way that Dark Notes, where in Dark Notes, like, BDSM is used as the therapy, but like, let's be real, Emery doesn't have a psych degree, and he really should have encouraged her to see a psychiatrist, but he wants her to be his girl, so he keeps it unhealthy. This is a situation where, like, Eli is like, you need help, baby. Like, you need help, and even if that means that I'm outed as loving a student, like, I need you to get help. So that's enough. I'm so excited about all these books, but just know what you're getting into to that one. It's really dark. There's lots of triggers, but there's also hope. And I've never felt so hopeful I've never rooted for the couple so much as I did in that one. Even though it was like an inappropriate, because a student teacher, the power dynamic was not messed up. And like, because this was a friend, this is also a friends to lovers, I loved it. And then the last one that you have the option to reread with me is The Takeover by T.L. Smart. This is the one on the list that I probably least need to reread. But since I'm rereading those top 26 stars, I mean, this book also will hit a lot of your prompts if we end up choosing this one. If you do the romance readathon, this is going to hit a lot of prompts if you want to. But yeah, what do I even say about this book anymore? This is a enemies to lovers. This is a single mom. This is an older woman romance. This is a billionaire romance. This is a book with children. This has dirty talk. This has Harry Potter references. It's adorable and amazing, and I cannot wait to reread it. So whether I'm rereading it with you guys or I'm rereading it myself, I don't care. It's happening. But please vote for whichever of these you want to. I'm rereading them all, so please pick the one that you want the most. Because I'm reading these ones no matter what. This isn't a case of it'll get pushed off till next year. So really pick the ones that you want us to deep dive into, whether you've read them yourself or this will be the first time, but I'm super excited. So make sure you check out the poll down below and then join the Discord if you want to be part of the discussion. If you don't want to do those things, please still vote. It's still really fun to see what people want me to be reading. Even if you want to pick a book that you're like, I don't think I could read that, but I'd really love to talk about it. Make sure you do that. So thank you so much for watching. Again, thank you to my new channel member, Carrie Dawn. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, if you're interested in channel memberships, check out the button down. Maybe I'm pointing the wrong way, but it's right by the subscribe button. And check out all the perks we got. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye.